Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about a topic that I have been asked several times, namely how do I increase my vibrational frequency during the day, every day, in such a way that I am sure that I get to be connected with my spirit throughout the day, and also I get to perform whatever my soul wants to do and not what my mind tells me that I should do. A vibrational frequency, it's actually the continuous language that our spirit is talking throughout our life, and each and every of us lives in a vibrational frequency rather than in a country or a home. And this vibrational frequency basically gets to decide to whom I get to connect with on an emotional level, on a spiritual level, and also the vibrational frequency of my spirit. It's the accumulation of knowledge throughout all my previous lifetimes, and it's the practical expression of who I am today. A vibrational frequency can be assimilated very easily, and this is why we sometimes get to manifest and we sometimes get to discover in our lives several patterns that we wouldn't want to see, but we get to see them, namely mental negative programs and limitations that aren't actually ours. They are just somehow on an energetic level borrowed from other people, and we just get to express them. So a vibrational frequency, it's, I would say, the way in which our spirit gets to translate whatever we accumulate as spiritual beings into factual behaviors as human beings. To change a vibrational frequency, it's basically a project that actually gets to encompass our whole life. And throughout this process, we discover ourselves. And there are no limitations when it comes to frequencies, and there are no boundaries in expanding our consciousness. As consciousness, it's an infinite flow of energy and information that we can access anytime we feel ready to do so, or we just need to do so. In our lives, we get to a point where we question ourselves, where we question our decisions, we question our relationships, and we want to change something. We want to change that thing that basically prevents us from being happier, from being at peace with ourselves, from being in harmony with who we are. And that's something that we want to change. From a quantic point of view, would be the vibrational frequency, namely the way in which our spirit copes with all the emotions, thoughts, and interactions with other people. Because we get to be triggered many times by old traumas, by people with a different mindset than ours, by situations which have not been in our initial plan. And so, in accordance with our vibrational frequency, we will react to those situations, and mostly our reality gets to be shaped by this vibrational frequency. A vibrational frequency, it's not just an abstract concept. It's something that quantum physics has been trying to prove for the last 50 or 60 years, and some experiments prove exactly how this works and how exactly we as humans get to firstly interact with someone from a spiritual point of view, and only then we get to interact with someone as human beings. Because what we don't see actually firstly shapes what we see. And what we get to see, it's a small fraction of what it is actually to be seen. The first thing in order to change a vibrational frequency, it's awareness. Awareness, it's a very vast topic, and in this particular case, it means the awareness that something must to be changed, firstly, and secondly, the awareness that I am. In I am, it is comprised everything that is beyond the mind, everything that goes beyond my mental limitations, the behavioral patterns that I have learned during my whole life. The I am, it's the spirit, it's whatever I identify myself with, and it's not human. It's not related to my activity, it's not related to my family, it's not related in any way to something that I have done to obtain. And most of all, it's not related to a purpose. I am, it's simply the total expression of what I get to discover in myself as a human being through my spiritual nature. Awareness comes in many situations as a natural process. You do nothing to become aware, or in other cases you can work on yourself, you can meditate, go to therapy, strive for a better understanding of the world, and then you become aware. So the first step to change your vibrational frequency is to become aware. And to become aware, it means to be present here and now. And when you are present here and now, in the present moment, you can see if there is something that you dislike about this moment, or if there is something that you would like to change. And the simple awareness of something, the deep feeling of being connected to your reality, to yourself, to others, it means a switch. And it means a shift in your vibrational frequency, because in that particular moment you get to become fully immersed in the I am. The second step to change your vibrational frequency is the feeling of gratitude, and it basically means to be grateful and to focus on the things that bring you joy rather than on the things that bring you pain. And here it's a very interesting point, because we are trained somehow to see the things that endanger us. We are trained to see the risks in what we do so that we can fully pursue whatever we are engaged in. But as much as it's useful to be on guard and to be able to assess the risks of getting yourself into anything, it is very important the vibrational frequency that you set when starting to do something, or when starting to build something in yourself or in others. Because the vibrational frequency that I start with actually gets to decide if something will be successful for me or not. And let me explain this. It's very simple. If I start to be grateful for something from the beginning, before I have obtained that thing I feel I should be grateful for, I immediately set a vibrational frequency that allows my consciousness to work for me, that allows me to expand myself in the direction that I aimed for. And this is already half done, because when you are grateful, you start from a very high frequency that actually enables life to move through you. You don't have to push life. You don't have to try to control anything, because it happens naturally. But at the same time, it happens as a result of your deep understanding of nature. And that is that nature moves on with or without you. You can choose to be part of it, or you can choose to be against it. But still, things will happen even if you approve or not. So gratitude and the feeling of gratefulness doesn't mean that you have to be grateful for something. It's rather to be grateful for nothing. It's rather to understand this feeling of gratefulness as a way of being, as a way of seeing life. I am grateful for being myself, and when I look at myself with love and acceptance. And suddenly I see my reality changing as a consequence of shifting my vibrational frequency. Thirdly, the most, I would say, important step in acquiring a different vibrational frequency would be, if I would say no expectations, that would be almost impossible. So I would say lowered expectations. When you have an expectation, you are basically projecting onto something your mental patterns. When you expect someone to behave like you want them to behave, you basically extract from them all their characteristics that make themselves who they are, and you just project onto them your own portrait of a person, your own abilities, your own skills, and you want to get something that doesn't exist in return. And this something basically it's your own imagination that has been fueled by the mind, and the mind is telling you that if you want to have someone that's meaningful, that's loving, that's supportive, it has to be in a certain way. And trying to find those particular characteristics actually deprives us of seeing the other stuff, the things that that person really can be acknowledged for, and the things that make that person who she or he is. So the problem with expectations is that they only hurt us. And when you basically put your happiness on a waiting list, and you basically put your happiness in line for being able to see what you want in people, then there is no happiness. Because expecting others to be who we are, it's not only insane, but it's unhealthy. If we wouldn't have to experiment some soul lessons with other types of people, of course we would all be the same. But we are so different in our endeavors, in our mutual understanding of the world, that we can experiment deeply and profoundly our human nature. And in this way, we basically get to interact with all sorts of behaviors that, of course, we wouldn't be able to see if we would be as everybody else. So expectations are something that we must work on our whole life, and we cannot change our vibrational frequency if we have expectations. Even changing your vibrational frequency, if this is an expectation, it won't happen. It has to be a process, and you must expect nothing of this process. You must never set any standards or have in your mind a specific path for this process, because at times the process gets extremely chaotic. At times, at the surface, from our subconscious mind, many traumas get to be represented in our normal life. And if you expect the process of raising your consciousness to be smooth and to be filled with joy and happiness, then you have a certain expectation that doesn't get, of course, to be accomplished, and it eventually hurts you a lot. So expectations are pure poison for our soul, and they stop the natural flow of life because they are related to the mind. The mind is expecting always something in return. The mind is always telling us how things should be, what we should get in return, how other people should be. So, and the mind is a thief of joy, because we don't get to see the present moment, because the mind is always rushing to predict and to see and to analyze and to tell us how things should be, rather than enjoy how things are. So changing the vibrational frequency, it's the first step to connect with your spirit, to understand who you are, and to understand your karmic mission, which is a topic that I will talk in the following videos. because you cannot start any process of deep change if you are not on a different vibrational frequency than before. If you start with the vibrational frequency of fear, of hate, of frustration, then you will not get to, firstly, to change anything, and secondly, even if you will make some changes, you will not be able to grasp them, to grasp their meaning, to grasp their deep understanding. And then it is very difficult to be present in something when you are not present with yourself. So a change in a vibrational frequency occurs when we get to connect with ourselves as we are. We stop judging ourselves, and we follow these 3 steps more or less. That is awareness, gratefulness, and no expectations. And every time we go through this process of finding ourselves on a different vibrational frequency, we basically give ourselves the chance that we were given actually at birth to be free and to experiment ourselves as much as human beings and also as spiritual beings, and we get to be free. And where there is the freedom of the soul, then you have a starting point for whatever you want to build.